welcome to this week's Connect Group. We hope you are already having a great time together. 1 Peter 4:10 tells us, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Serving is at the core of who we are at King's Community Church, and we encourage everyone who calls King's their home to join a team and steward the gifts that God has blessed them with. Before we look at today's Connect Group material, we just wanted to highlight some opportunities to serve.
So how I started is actually quite a funny story. So the first thing that I served in was in Kids Church. My then Connect Group leaders mentioned that they were looking for more volunteers in Kids Church. And my initial thought was, I could do it, and I'm free, I could serve in one of the services. But then immediately I just hesitated. The excuse that I used to justify it was, well, you know what, it doesn't matter because this is a big church. I'm sure somebody else will do it anyway. And I just left it at that. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, on a Sunday service, Tom gets up to preach. And one of the first things he says is, a few weeks ago, we sent out an announcement for volunteers for Kids Church, and nobody came forward because you thought to yourself, this is a big church, I'm sure somebody else will do it. But God is not looking for someone else to do it, He's looking for you to do it. So I just knew immediately that was meant for me. So that was in 2015, and I've been serving in Kids Church ever since, and I absolutely love it. I actually refer to it as my first ministry because it just captures my heart that much. And I just love I'm able to see now a bit more of the eternal significance of week after week telling kids about Jesus and just walking that journey with them and seeing them grow in their understanding of God. Okay, so there's 2 main reasons why I serve. And the biggest one is based on what the Bible tells us, actually. It tells us that God gives us time, talent, and resources, and that we will actually be held accountable for how we spend those things. And the other reason is, I guess, a response to what this church has done for me. Nobody has ever invested in me as much as this church has. No one has had my back through thick and thin and loved me unconditionally as much as this church has. It truly is my family, my home, so it feels natural actually to serve. It feels unnatural to just sit back and just, let things go on without me giving anything back. I wasn't even aware of the gifts that I had until I actually got up and started serving. It gives you a much greater appreciation for what happens on a Sunday and a much bigger respect for people who do this week after week once you actually get involved in yourself and you see how much effort goes in on a Sunday. And it's easy to miss if you're not serving because everything looks so fantastic on a Sunday. But it's only when you get plugged in and get involved in a team and when you see the significance of it and the impact that you could be making week after week.
This autumn we're going to be focusing on our church values, looking back at our recent summer sermon series, Reopening the Wells. And Acts 2:42-47 tells us, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favour of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. We base our church values on this picture, which is a picture of devotion, and within it we can identify 5 main values: community, loyalty, humility, generosity and maturity. And this week we're focusing on loyalty. Loyalty is that quality which encourages us to be committed to each other, to other people, to devotional life, to gathering together, to the vision of the house. It is the quality of serving one another. And this week we're looking back at Elizabeth's preach from the summer, focused on the book of Ruth, which unpacked just how important loyalty was. But before we do that, let's read Ruth 1:1-22.
we wonder what loyalty is. Loyalty is like, we are planted here. We have moved here. This is where we are, and this is the final commission. We have a city to reach. We have neighbors to talk to. We have friends to bring along to. We have people on this journey, and we will be loyal to the final commission in this church. The second thing about loyalty is loyalty defines our location. It says that Abraham stepped out in faith and went to a land that he didn't know of. I remember hearing stories about missionaries many, many years ago. When they left, it said, I don't know if it's true or not, but they said that they took their coffins with them because they were going to the mission field and they knew that they would be buried in the mission field. There was no turning back. There wasn't, let's go on a little mission trip, let's just check it out, let's go for a few months and go back for a sabbatical and whatever. It was do or die. And so I think loyalty defines our location. And she says here, where you stay, I will stay. And where you die, I will die. And this term, butterfly Christians, if you've ever watched a butterfly, it lands in a pretty flower, stays for a while, and you go along with your phone to take a picture of this beautiful thing, and it flits off to another plant. And they never stay still. They're always floating around. And you know what? Let's be planted in this location. Because loyalty is planted in a location. And I know if there's things, when things get tough, you think, oh, stick in there. Stick in there and stand. Where you stay, I will stay. We've got so many things like comparethemarket.com. No, it's not comparethechurch.com. We'll go here for a little while. We'll check this out. Oh, it doesn't do the kids' work. We'll go somewhere else to see if the youth work works or whatever. You have to find what suits you. And I do know that there are people, and I've been in this situation myself, where we just felt stirred to be moved. And that's a very different thing than visiting many churches and not ever being a part, never tithing to a church because you're moving around, never serving in a church because you're moving around. So if you come, and if you're a student and you're only here for a small time in a small location, just get stuck in. And get involved and do things, because that's what loyalty is. And that's what loyalty was. Loyalty trusts a God, and loyalty accepts the location that they're in and think, yep, this is me, this is who I am. And, we were at a wedding last week of Matthew and Claire. Seriously, I had a moment there. Okay, Matthew and Claire, we were at their wedding. And when I listened to the vows, it didn't say for better, and if you're wealthy, and if you're healthy, and until I feel like it, I'm going to stick with you. No, it was for better or worse, richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. That's what loyalty is. It's not a feel-good thing. It's not, well, if it feels good, or if the circumstances are right, or if this is okay, or if it provides my certain coffee, or, oh, I don't like the way they've spoken to me, I'm out of here. Loyalty sticks. And so, I just can imagine these two girls, going and, if I had my daughter-in-law Heidi here, I'd be walking with her, and you can imagine the two of them going together. Now Ruth, people are not going to really like you. They're going to notice your accent. They're not going to like what you're wearing, and those gods that you've worshipped. And in fact, we might get hate mail. Can you imagine? She was preparing her for what was about to happen. It wasn't an easy journey, but Ruth stuck by it. And I don't think Naomi painted a rosy picture. I mean, she's painted a picture of like, my God's failed me. And Ruth is joining her on that journey towards Bethlehem with Naomi, who's declared that her God has failed her. And she's a bitter person. But Ruth has seen something else. She has had a revelation of Jesus, I believe. Boaz was loyal to the word of God. Because if you look at Leviticus and you look at Deuteronomy, when the Lord is speaking to Moses and says, now remember, this is what I want you to do. When you're harvesting, don't pick up everything. Leave it for the foreigners, for the widows, and for the orphans. So we find Boaz is loyal to the word of God. He's read the word and he says, guys, leave that at the sides. I don't know who's going to come into my fields, but just leave it for them. And he has no idea what's walked into his field. It's amazing. I love that we know the end of the story. And if some of you don't know the story, Ruth ends up marrying Boaz. But here she is. She finds herself gleaning in this field of this foreigner that she doesn't even know about. And the second thing is, Ruth didn't just say, I'm coming with you, Naomi, and we're going to go on this journey together, and we're going to see what happens. She rolled up her sleeves and thought, I'm getting stuck in. Because in that day, you know, if you didn't have a man to provide for you, you had nothing. And so she was like, okay, I'm going to be loyal not just to you, but I'm going to be loyal in my actions as well. And I'm going to go out there. Now, Naomi, what did you say about those fields? And you said something in the Torah about they would leave some stuff for the widows and orphans. Yeah, okay, well, I'm going to go and see if that works. And she went out there, and it happened to be, and I love the way it says, it happened to be. You know, there's no happenings in God's world.